I was 3 months pregnant with my first child.
Answer to that question was yes. I do think I can do what you do.
Now you have to be on social media. You have to be a presence, and people know, like, and trust you.
What is good, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Key Leads Media Podcast. Now, when I tell you I have a very special guest here today, we haven't known each other that long, but it's been very impactful. Just the conversations we've had, the chance to work together in the real estate space, us on the production side, her on the real estate side. It's been amazing. But before we jump into the episode, I would be remiss if I don't do this because I didn't do it on the first episode. Shout out to the sponsor, Content Factory Media Group. We wouldn't be in this beautiful studio doing these great things without them and allowing us to use the space. So had to put that out there. But like I said, very special guest. Today we have Laurie Laramie coming all the way from Stuart, Florida down here in the Hollywood to come into the studio with us. So we appreciate her because she could have chose to be anywhere else, but she chose to be down here with us today. So without further ado, I want to introduce Laurie to you guys. Laurie, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. I'm honored to be here, so thank you for having me.
For sure, and it's well-deserved. You do a lot for the community, your community up there in Stuart, and then, just your efforts and everything that you're doing in real estate is just profound. You're really about what real estate is about, meaning putting people in homes, helping people build wealth, making those big investments for the biggest purchase of their life for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate you for doing that. Obviously, I'm licensed as well, as you know.
Yes.
So being able to look at you and see what you do, is serving as an example to me and how I should move throughout the space as well. So I really do appreciate you on that, and I want to make sure I give you your flowers on that for sure.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
For sure, no problem.
It's very sweet.
First thing we're going to get into is just the introduction, who you are, what you're about, where you're from, your expertise in the space. So tell me a little bit about, what you do as a realtor.
Okay, so who I am, Laurie Laramie. I am a realtor. I've been a realtor for 14 years. I had got my license back in 2010 when I lived in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. Sold for my first 6 months, sold 6 houses my first 6 months, and then my husband at the time decided we were going to move down to Florida. So I had that experience behind me, so we moved down here. I waited a year to get my license, so got licensed in Florida in 2012 and have been doing it ever since. So my background has always been in sales. I worked in the automotive industry. Everybody's like, you did? I was 3 months pregnant with my first child. Wow. When I started selling cars. And then I moved up the ranks. I sold cars. I was a finance manager, a business development manager. And then I said, you know what? This is not as rewarding as I would like it. I love doing this, but I want to do something else. That's why I chose to get into real estate. I'm like, it is, like you said before, the biggest decision somebody's going to have to make. And I worked a lot with first-time home buyers when I started, and getting to walk them through that process and see the end result is just so rewarding. So I knew I chose the right path for sure.
For sure. And one of the things I like to point out, because when you say that, thoughts will pop in my head all throughout this, by the way. So these are some of the things that, we really want to touch on in terms of high ticket sales, really taking somebody through those different things that are going on, meaning how do you go about the contract? How do you go about the terms and conditions and all the things that we're reading? Like, how do we really go about this whole sales process? Can you talk about, the difference between, I guess, the automotive industry and the real estate industry? Because they're both high ticket purchases. You can buy a $50,000, $60,000 car, even $30,000 car, or you can buy, a $300,000 house. You're still coming up with about $30,000 to close on that, you know what I'm saying, depending on the price of the home. So is there similarities that helped you make that transition and made it easier?
I would say doing real estate is more complicated. There's a lot more behind it, a lot more paperwork. Mm-hmm. A lot more to walk through with that individual, so much more to negotiate rather than just the price of a car and the term. This goes way beyond that. So whether it be a repair or how we can be creative, if something were to come up in the contract, and how we can keep the transaction together, because that's my goal. That's the goal in real estate when I'm working with another realtor. It's like, how can we work together to make sure that we make this happen for both the buyer and the seller?
No, for sure. And then you also have the situation where, you're dealing with families. You're dealing with people who maybe have kids, maybe their parents live with them. Maybe this is, going to be an estate for their family and things that are going to happen in the future. Maybe family reunions will be hosted here. So you kind of get really in with these people and you become friends. They become more than clients. Some of them become family. It's just a whole different relationship side to it that I think we experience, correct?
It is, and it's funny that you say that. And I was going through some of my old files yesterday, like houses that I've sold over the past couple of years. And a lot of my business comes from referrals. And they had called me. I had helped them buy this house. They spoke 100% Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And I did the whole transaction via Google Translator. And then I brought in a friend of mine who I know that spoke Spanish to do a lot of the negotiations. But they were ready to sell the house again, and I walked in there, and they had a picture of me on their family wall.
So that just goes to show you that, the business we're in, because realtors get a rap of big ticket, being rich, and, having all this money. But we put a lot into our customers, and there you have it. Your picture's on the wall.
Oh, yes. That was on.
I couldn't imagine if I sold a house and my picture's on the wall next time I come to visit that family.
Yeah.
That would
It was us in a
shock
picture, and they put it on the wall. And I think that's what differentiates me. And I'm not saying that other realtors don't. Like, I care, and I build relationships. And that's what it's all about, because I want to make sure that they're happy. I want to make sure that, my business runs on referrals, that they know that if they put me in the hands of somebody that they care about, that they're going to be taken care of. And that is so important to me. And the other thing is community. I'm huge into the community, whether it be a 501c3 nonprofit. I'm actually involved in my own. So I always like to make sure that I'm there as much as I can. I can't spread myself too thin, but
yeah,
sometimes I do.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, as far as your expertise, you said a lot of your business comes from referrals. So is there a certain type of client that comes to you through those referrals, meaning that you specialize in helping first-time home buyers, you specialize in a lot of investor-type deals? Is there any one particular place that most of your business comes from, and can you talk to the uniqueness of working in that space?
For sure. Like, I did start out with first-time home buyers, and I'd love to be there to guide them, because it's a lot from not knowing, never buying your first home, to actually what's involved going through. And then it's kind of spawned off into other things. I mean, I work with everybody. There's nobody I wouldn't work with. It's just wherever that need is. Investors, that's something I have been working with the past year. I've actually am becoming one myself this month.
Congrats.
So I'm walking in that space. And speaking about helping people, I just walked into that because this person needed help. And it was an opportunity that presented itself to me. And then, I'll sell anything from, if you need help buying a $25,000 house to a $10 million house. It's wherever that need is, I'm going to walk you through that.
For sure. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the challenges and misconceptions that come with being a realtor that you face, and how you've dealt with those challenges. Like, what are some of the common myths that people might think about, what it is you do?
That's so funny that you asked us, what is it that you do? You just drive around and show pretty houses. I'm like, no, that's not what we do. I mean, I try to take away, I should say, as much stress from my customers as I possibly can. Like, obviously, if there are things that they need to know, then they need to know them. But we do take on, a lot of the stress of the customers to kind of walk them through that process. But it's not just showing pretty houses. There's so much paperwork. There is so much negotiation. There's so much that you have to know. And right now, as we all know, sitting here doing what we're doing and putting ourselves out there, it used to be we would hold an MLS sheet and go tour a house. It's now you have to be on social media. You have to be a presence, and people know, like, and trust you to want to work with you and have an expertise in your area. So video, social media, it's so much more than just selling a house.
Yeah, for sure. And even to piggyback off of that and really go into it, you're on ADTV. So you're a host on American Dream TV. We had Stephanie Adams on here. She was as well. And I know you guys did a collab episode that I was shooting. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because you talk about the importance of content, and you've really invested in that for yourself, for your brand. Like, how have you, I guess, tried to put that more at the forefront of what you do so you can capture more, market share of people that you can help go through these life-changing transactions? Like, tell me about that process of you getting into it. Was it challenging? Did you just fall right into it and it flowed? Like, how did that go, getting on camera?
I took a chance, and it's funny for me. Sometimes I'll get a little bit nervous, but when I'm in front of a camera, it's almost like I could just be me and talk, because it's not about me. That's where it all happens. This isn't about me. It's about how I can help you. And the ADTV thing, because I love our community so much and because I wanted to share that with people, that's what made it so much easier for me just to step into that. So when I'm talking to people, I'm talking about them. Like, how can we help you? So my 3 shows I've done so far have been about nonprofits and bringing those to the forefront. And one of them being the Farm Dog Rescue, then Surfers for Autism, and then Families Recover. And then I'm able to showcase, real estate, after that. Some of the shows we won't do that. It just depends where that focus I want to be on that and that point in that segment. But the ADTV has given me that catalyst to be able to do these things and to put myself in front of these people and to showcase these businesses or homes, for that matter.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's really amazing. And if you're just joining us, right, let's say you skip through or you're just looking at a clip, this is Key Leads Media with Laurie Laramie out of Stewart, Florida, profound realtor out here really for the community and does everything that she does with her heart in it. So that goes into the next point where, I'm reading right now. I read a lot. And one of the things I'm trying to do is incorporate more reading and conversations to really spark meaningful conversations. Because this is all fine, right? We have the cameras, the studio, we're in here, lights, we look good, we're talking well. But at some point, we had to choose to put ourselves in this position. And one of the things that I'm reading now, the first chapter of this book is, who do you want to be? So as you made that decision to transfer from my automotive industry to becoming a realtor, because I want you to share first, then I'll share mine. But how did you decide who you wanted to be? How did you decide that this was the route you want to go? Because I think a lot of people, go through these things where they want to make a career change or they want to make this big purchase of a house, right? Or they want to do all these different things. But there's a process to making that decision that we don't talk about a lot. We just kind of do it and then we kind of reap the rewards or people praise us for it. But they don't understand the process that it takes to kind of take that leap of faith. Like you said, you just jumped when it came to content. So how did you decide who you wanted to be and get yourself in this position where we're even sitting here today?
That's a good question. And it was scary because, being in the automotive industry, you get a little bit of, it's commission pretty much. And I know taking this leap of faith was completely 100% commission. And at that time, when I chose to do real estate full-time here in Florida, I had just gone through a divorce. And I was a single mom. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, like, how am I going to do this? Like, this is huge. I'm not 9 to 5. I'm not getting a paycheck. But I knew in my heart that this was the path I wanted to choose because the only ceiling is my own, is what I choose it to be. And having the flexibility to be there for my kids, to take them to the doctors, to take them to extracurricular activities, knowing that I'm going to have to work as hard as it's going to take to be able to make those ends meet, but also be able to enjoy what I'm doing for a career, not a job. Right. So my heart and my passion was in it. My heart and my passion's there for my kids. That was like the biggest thing for me. And I'm like, you know what? The harder I work, the finances will come. Things will come, and it will happen. And I believed in that, and everything has started to unfold differently, like we're talking about the ADTV. So the real estate has spawned different things for me now that I'm able to live doing what I love to do and also be able to do that for others. So I think that's the biggest reward for me, taking that leap of faith, being afraid or scared, but, faith over fear.
Faith over fear. Faith over fear. That's going to be the title of this episode, actually. You just gave me that. So, yeah, that's all you when you see it come out. So to share a little bit on my end with that, because I know I rattle a lot of questions, but I do want to have some dialogue on this side to just leave you with things, because you left me with so much just now. So as far as who do you want to be for me, I was working at JFK Hospital in Boynton, Palm Beach County. I moved back down here for a job, and family stuff happens, illnesses and things of that nature. So I'm at a point where it's like a crossroad. I'm saying, going into work every day, I'm thinking about how in the world am I going to go from this residency program, executive resident program, to becoming a COO and not necessarily be there, like you mentioned, flexibility, with my family, especially with the things that were going on. So it was a day, and I was sitting in front of the COO, and I'll never forget it, because she looked at me after a long meeting that we kind of sat and I listened to our shadow, because I'm learning. She looked at me and she asked me two questions. They were the same question, but they were two questions at the same time. The first one was, you really got to ask yourself, do you think you can do what I do, right? When you talk about leveling up in this healthcare world, corporate healthcare. But then she asked another question to follow up, not necessarily separately, but kind of within the same sentence, do you see yourself doing that? The first answer to that question was yes. I do think I can do what you do. I still think I'm capable of going and becoming a COO, CEO in a healthcare system if that's what I want to do. But the second question was, do you see yourself doing that? And when I chose who I'm going to be, I had to take a step back. And I had to ask myself, not necessarily who I wanted to be, but what goals am I trying to get to, and who do I need to become to get to those goals? And was I okay with what it was going to take to become that? And when I looked at it and I thought about flexibility of family, and I thought about being able to build wealth in real estate and through entrepreneurship, I had to take a step back and say, I don't see myself in that role, because in order for me to do the things that I'm saying I want to do, I don't think or see a pathway within this role to do that without the expense of my family, in some ways, right? Because there's still sacrifices now when it comes to family. I still got to work. I still got to do these different things. But at a moment's notice, if I need to go, I can go without looking over my shoulder about, am I going to get fired? Am I not committing enough time to these other things that other people are depending on, because this whole organization and operation feeds their family? So I had to ask myself those questions, and that is when I got into the reading, right? And that is where this stuff is so powerful, and everything that, you've been through and shared today hits home with me. And I wanted to make sure I shared that with you, because I literally wrote this out prior to the podcast today, because I'm reading the first chapter of a new book. And this was, like I said, the title of the first chapter. So, just wanted to share that with you. For me, it was really more of where do I want to go and who do I need to become that made me say, okay, that's who I want to be. And I'm committed to that. And you've done the same thing. And I commend you on that. And I'm proud of you. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, short time knowing each other, but everything I've seen you do thus far, everything that you're going to continue to do, your spirit, how you walk in faith, how you take care of your kids, all of those different things that I've seen in just this short period of time, it's amazing. So I appreciate you for coming on. You got any last words? Where can the people find you on social?
Well, I have to say, before I say that, Malik, it has been such a pleasure. Like, even speaking to you for this short time, you're just an amazing person. So I needed to tell you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that for sure.
So thank you. So you guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. But I work up in on the Treasure Coast, but I do a little bit in Palm Beach as well. So North Palm Beach, Martin County, St. Lucie County, and a little bit of Indian River County. So I like to stay in my market area that I know, because that's where I'm an expert. And, when it comes to kids and schools and where do I want to be, and, helping families kind of make that transition, especially if they're not from here, I always like to stay in my niche market. But yes, in that area, that's where I am. And I would love to show everybody around. I'd love for you to come up soon and kind of take you around, Stuart. So we may have something on the horizon, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, let's do it. And it's Laurie.Laramie on Instagram, right?
It is.
Got you. So Laurie.Laramie on Instagram.
Yes.
We'll put that on here so you guys can see that. Go follow her. And, man, look, it's been a pleasure. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We hope you got some gems from it, not just, just sound bites, but actual value from actually looking at this podcast today. And reach out, right? If you need production or real estate, reach out. We have individuals like Laurie, we have individuals like myself. We can figure out how to connect you with the right resource for you to be able to do what it is you want to do when it comes to building wealth in real estate, or maybe even other businesses, because we meet so many people. We don't just meet people that buy homes. We meet business owners. We meet community leaders. We're involved. So with that being said, reach out, get connected. Let's help you find whatever it is you want to do, because that's our role in this space. Being realtors, having production companies, making content is not the end goal. The end goal is for you to see it and let's take the next step. So with that being said, we are signing off Key Leads Media Podcast episode 2 with Laurie Laramie. We out.